Ibrahim Traoré meets Putin, a new Africa-Russia alliance. In the heart of Moscow, beneath the cold stare of the Kremlin's golden spires, a bold handshake sent tremors through global politics. Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, face-to-face with Russia's iron-willed president, Vladimir Putin. Was it a diplomatic courtesy or the beginning of a seismic shift in world order? As the West watches with unease, a new alliance may be taking shape, forged not just in politics but in rebellion, defiance, and a hunger for sovereignty. What does this meeting truly signify? A temporary pact or a blueprint for a new global power axis? Stay with us as we unravel the motives, the implications, and the undeniable drama behind one of the most unexpected meetings of our time. In May 2025, Burkina Faso's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, met Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. This meeting has sparked global interest, with many wondering if it signals a stronger alliance between Africa and Russia. Traoré, a young and bold military leader, has been pushing for Burkina Faso to break free from Western influence, especially from France, its former colonial power. His visit to Russia, marked by high-profile events like attending the 80th Victory Day parade, suggests a growing partnership that could reshape Africa's geopolitical landscape. This video explores the context, outcomes, and implications of this meeting based on recent reports. The Moscow meeting, what happened? Traoré's visit to Moscow in May 2025 was a high-profile event. He was personally invited by Putin to attend Russia's 80th Victory Day parade, an honor reserved for close allies. The two leaders held a meeting at the Kremlin where they discussed military, economic, and technological cooperation. Traoré arrived in full military gear, a symbolic gesture of his revolutionary stance, and spoke about Burkina Faso's desire to learn from Russia's resilience against Western sanctions. During the meeting, Traoré emphasized the need for knowledge transfer and technology exchange. He expressed interest in opening Russian university branches in Burkina Faso to train students in practical skills. He also praised Russia's role on the global stage, saying, "Despite all the sanctions, Russia manages to remain at the forefront of the international stage. It's a lesson for all of us." Putin, in turn, promised to continue supporting Burkina Faso in fighting terrorism and restoring constitutional order. The meeting built on earlier interactions. In July 2023, Traoré attended the Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg, where he first met Putin. At that summit, he called for stronger ties with Russia to achieve food self-sufficiency and criticized African leaders for relying on foreign aid. The 2025 Moscow meeting suggests that these ties are deepening, with both leaders keen to expand their partnership. Why is Burkina Faso turning to Russia? Burkina Faso's shift toward Russia is rooted in its frustration with Western powers, particularly France. For decades, France maintained a strong military and economic presence in Burkina Faso, its former colony. However, many Burkinabe felt that French involvement did little to address the country's security or economic challenges. The extremist insurgency worsened under French military presence, and anti-French sentiment grew. Traoré capitalized on this sentiment, expelling French troops in February 2023 and seeking alternative partners. Russia, eager to expand its influence in Africa, stepped in. Since 2022, Burkina Faso has received Russian military advisors and equipment, including a paramilitary brigade to support Traoré's regime. In November 2023, Russian soldiers arrived in Ouagadougou and talks of military cooperation intensified. Energy is another key area of collaboration. Burkina Faso suffers from chronic energy shortages, relying heavily on biofuels like charcoal. In 2023, Traoré asked Putin for help in building a nuclear power plant to address this issue. Russia agreed, and the project is seen as a step toward meeting Burkina Faso's goal of 95% electricity access in urban areas and 50% in rural areas by 2030. Economic policies also play a role. Traore has introduced left-wing reforms such as creating a state-owned mining company that requires foreign firms to give a 15% stake to the government. This applies even to Russian companies like Nordgold, which recently received a mining license. These policies aim to ensure Burkina Faso benefits from its gold wealth, a priority Traore calls a revolution. Russia's growing influence in Africa. Burkina Faso is not alone in strengthening ties with Russia. Across Africa, Moscow is positioning itself as an alternative to Western powers. Countries like Mali, the Central African Republic, and Niger have also turned to Russia for military and economic support. Russia's appeal lies in its willingness to provide aid without the political conditions often attached to Western assistance. The Wagner Group, a Russian mercenary organization, has been active in several African countries, though its role in Burkina Faso remains limited. After the death of Wagner's leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, in 2023, Russia's military intelligence, GRU, took over Wagner's operations, signaling a more direct state involvement. In Burkina Faso, Russian forces are reportedly protecting Traoré's regime, especially after a foiled coup attempt in September 2023. Russia is also using soft power to win hearts and minds. Organizations like the African Initiative and the Russian House Cultural Center promote Russian culture and language in Burkina Faso. Pro-Russian graffiti and flags have become common in Ouagadougou, reflecting growing public support. At the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit, Putin promised 25,000 tons of wheat to Burkina Faso, a gesture that resonated with a country struggling with food insecurity. What does this mean for Africa and the world? The Traore-Putin meeting raises questions about the future of Africa-Russia relations. For Burkina Faso, the partnership offers military support, energy solutions, and a chance to assert sovereignty. However, it comes with risks. Critics argue that Traoré's reliance on Russian forces could undermine his nationalist image, as it replaces one foreign power, France, with another, Russia. There are also concerns about Russian intentions, with some accusing Moscow of exploiting Africa's resources, such as Burkina Faso's gold. Globally, the meeting highlights Russia's efforts to counter Western influence. As the Ukraine conflict continues, Russia faces severe sanctions and isolation from the West. Strengthening ties with African nations helps Russia maintain its global relevance. Posts on X reflect this sentiment, with some users praising Traoré's visit as a step toward African sovereignty, while others see it as a strategic move by Putin to gain allies. For Africa, the alliance could inspire other nations to rethink their partnerships. Traoré's bold leadership has made him a symbol of resistance against Western dominance, earning him a cult-like following online. However, his failure to fully quell the Islamist insurgency and his crackdown on dissent raise questions about his long-term success. French President Emmanuel Macron has criticized Traoré, calling his alliance with Russia a Baroque mix of Pan-Africanism and neo-imperialism. Challenges and opportunities. The Africa-Russia alliance, exemplified by Traoré and Putin's partnership, presents a complex mix of opportunities and challenges for Burkina Faso and the broader continent. Russia's support offers potential for greater self-reliance through access to military training, advanced technology, and infrastructure projects like the proposed nuclear power plant, which could address Burkina Faso's chronic energy shortages. These advancements could bolster Traoré's vision of a sovereign, self-sufficient nation inspired by Thomas Sankara. However, the partnership risks creating new dependencies, as Russia's aid often comes with economic and political expectations, potentially undermining Burkina Faso's autonomy. Security remains the immediate priority, with the extremist insurgency displacing millions and threatening stability. Russian military assistance, including advisors and equipment, could strengthen the Burkinabe army, but lasting peace requires more than firepower. Traoré's ambitious goals hinge on significant investments in education to build a skilled workforce, agriculture to ensure food security, and energy to drive economic growth. Russia's commitment to genuine knowledge transfer rather than resource extraction will be critical to determining whether this alliance fosters true independence or merely shifts reliance from one power to another. From the deserts of the Sahel to the halls of the Kremlin, the world is watching and waiting. As Ibrahim Traoré carves a new path for Africa and Putin stretches his influence deeper into the continent, one thing is clear: the game has changed. Is this the rise of a new global alliance or the spark of a new Cold War? Thanks for watching. If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments. Is Africa choosing a new partner in power, or is history repeating itself in a different uniform?